And then I'll remember to turn all my fun lights on.
Oh, okay. I was like, are we doing something else? Shit.
I like to keep people on their toes.
Oof.
The extra secret recording. The fourth dimensional recording. It's smell.
Hey, that's always an aspect of our recording. We're right
Get
next to
really
the litter
immersed.
box.
There legit happen times we're recording and the cat goes in and it just takes like the most epic dump ever. And I'm sitting here just trying to survive.
Be professional about it. Yeah.
Be really professional about it. One time I've definitely just brought it up while we were in the middle of recording. But
Yeah, I remember. Well, it makes you feel better. I've got the diaper pail in the room.
Nice.
And I got some stuff that's been marinating in here. So. But my nose doesn't work right now, so who gives a fuck?
Hell
right?
yeah.
Great.
That was a good one. This is going to be fun. Woo.
Sure.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Oh. Hello, lore heads, and welcome to The League, exploring the League of Legends lore from A to Z. My name is Rebecca.
And I'm John.
My name is Mark.
Today, we are finally getting to talk about Season 2, Act 3 of Arcane. So sorry for the delay. I got the flu, and then I gave it to Mark.
Hey.
Yeah.
Who's got two thumbs and no sense of smell?
That guy. I
This
think mine's
guy.
back. Yeah.
This gal, yeah. I was gonna say, shout out to the Discord. If you're a listener and you didn't know what the hell was going on, we did John put an announcement on the Discord to explain our delay. So it's a good place to hang out. You don't have to interact. You can lurk, but it is a great place to keep up with what's happening.
Yeah, yeah. You could literally turn
shout
off
out.
all of their notifications. We don't post announcements super often, so yeah.
You can opt into a lot of them too. Like I
Yeah.
post a Twitch announcement every week, but you won't see it unless you are a member of Twitch fan. So,
Yeah.
we try to be non-obtrusive.
So it has been a little while since we've talked about Act 2 and have watched Act 3, I think, unless you guys have done a rewatch.
No.
No, I haven't either.
I've watched random episodes.
I watched
reactors
almost
have watched them.
the entire series of The Office when I was sick, but just because I didn't have to actually like look at it or listen, really. It was a nice little comfort while I had a fever.
It's like when you close your eyes and there's a light on. It's like the brightness isn't affecting you, but you know the light is on. You need to have it off, but this is like the opposite.
Yeah. I needed my friends in the room with me.
Right.
Sexually harassing each other and making me laugh.
That's what they do. No, I was knocked on my ass the whole time I was sick. I was just asleep pretty much whenever I could be. So I have not. I watched through these episodes twice, just as my normal kind of process of watching, like the full immersed experience. And then the second time of trying to actually take notes and approach it with a more critical eye. But not since then.
All right. Well.
So.
Do we want to talk about each episode? Overall vibes? I mean, the show ended.
Arcane is over.
I know.
Yeah, it is over. I would like to kind of pick through this with a fine tooth comb.
Shit, okay.
Before I give overall vibes. The reason I say that is because it's very, very dense. This act especially.
I know.
And my feelings are I'm coming in pretty hot on episodes 8 and 9, and Act 3 as a whole. And I think I would like to pick through it with y'all and really try and sift through it all, because I think that I don't know. I want to I'll hold off. I want to talk.
All right.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure. Yeah. Too
Let's
short is what
7.
we're I think all going to agree on. Rush.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. But let's drop into 7. Seven's
Sure.
7 like 7. I'm not coming in hot in. I liked 7 broadly.
7 was such a good palate cleanse.
Yeah, I my big note for 7 was that it reminds me a lot more, especially compared to like 8 and 9. It reminds me a lot more of a season 1 like type episode, and that it's slower, smaller, and a little quieter.
Yeah.
It's a little more personal and about like characters and emotions and shit.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you. I was very disappointed at first when we jumped into the episode. I'm not a big fan of these like multiverse stories that are just very big right now. To me, the idea that everything is possible means that no universe matters, I guess, and it makes me not care as much anymore. But this felt very different. It kind of didn't feel like everything was possible. It didn't feel like every decision has made a new universe. And we find out later, actually, that a lot of the universes end up the same anyway. But this one is just so vastly different and devastating. This, I think, was one of the most heartbreaking episodes of television I've ever seen in my life.
It's interesting.
I loved it.
Yeah. I mean, anything we center around Ekko, who is all of our favorites, maybe, or very, very close to being our favorite character for all three of us.
Yeah. It was really... Yeah, there was a lot about this episode that I really, really liked. I mean, just kind of seeing the ripple effect of kind of the one difference of the heist.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I'm this is something I wanted to kind of try and pick through with y'all. Is like, is it just the one difference, right? Because I have trouble kind of thinking that that's the case because it's so vastly different, and also I have a lot of trouble like thinking that because we see Silco and Vander have reconciled in this thing, and I just, it's really hard for me to imagine that just the like results of Vi dying, etc., could cause Silco, as like where he was at in season 1 when the heist happened, to have reconciled with Vander. But we know, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like other things must have changed.
Yeah,
it must also be different.
This is I think one of the things I saw a lot of TikToks about like theories and stuff like that, and just kind of in also brainstorming what could have happened. I really like the idea that really the main difference is that a child died in this explosion, and that made a huge difference to how Piltover kind of took this break-in. It was suddenly a massive, massive tragedy, and it's because of what Jace was doing, which, even when it was just an explosion and no one got hurt, they were throwing him out of the academy for that. So I believe that Jace was thrown out of the academy, if not jailed. He probably commit suicide, because Victor wouldn't have stopped him, because he wouldn't have known about this Hextech stuff, or maybe he would not have tried to pursue it. And I think that Vander would have shared his letter with Silco, and the letter that we see, I think that would have been a big change. And then I also think that the counselor, which was already very borderline feeling sympathetic towards Zahn, several of the members were, them losing a child because of something that happened here, I don't know, I feel like that they would have this very different approach to trying to I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard because like
definitely. I think the second thing, the whole Vander sharing the note thing, like that's an important, like, especially to Mark's point about the reconciliation between like Vander and Silco, because we do know that, I think, what was it, like a day or two after the initial heist in season 1, like Silco was full on prepared to murder this child himself.
Yes, I agree as well. A lot of people were talking about that, like, oh, well, their like pseudo daughter died, and I'm like, no, because Silco does not care about Vi, really. But this all comes back to me not feeling like Silco ever cared about these children.
Well, I mean, again, before the flashback in Act 2, there was never really any expectation that he would, right? You know, and I think that, like, and that was something that we even kind of brought up, as it feels like we're missing a piece here to explain why he doesn't, because he seems to have had such a strong relationship with their parents, and I almost kind of, like, if I just forget about the flashback, it makes things a lot simpler in terms of like Silco never would have been in a position to care about them because he doesn't. But I don't know. But he knew Vander. He's close friends with Vander. It's like, if you're close friends with somebody and they're essentially close, like it's almost akin to like a godparent maybe to someone. You probably know those kids and at least have seen them.
Yeah.
I don't know. The more I think about it, this is again where like I want to push this part of the discussion way later to like maybe even the next episode we do where we're talking about it holistically from like between acts. I don't know. I maybe I'll put a pin in it from what I was trying to say. I don't know.
Yeah.
I am curious, kind of a behind the scenes thing to see if there was any kind of cut footage or just like kind of
There's a ton of cut footage.
Well, yeah. No, I mean season 1 stuff that I'm thinking right now.
Oh, yeah.
Because we know one thing that we know Silco did during the heist in season 1 was, tell that kid to follow them.
Yeah.
And we don't ever actually know why. Or
I think he wanted to see what they got from Piltover, would be my guess.
Well, I'm curious if it was like, did he set them following them specifically to the heist? Has he been tailing them? Like, is he just kind of curious, trying to keep tabs? Like, I don't think his motivations were ever necessarily made clear there, and I'm curious what the behind-the-scenes motivations are there that might help explain some of this. Who knows? But
yeah, it could also just be that he knows that they're the kind of wards of Vander, and he's obviously massively keyed into what's going on with Vander, right? And so, that's a good question. Anyway, we can pull. I think we can pull away from like the
yeah.
what's happening specifically in this sort of AU
but this AU is what it is,
Yeah, I thought we could talk about just because it's really about Ekko, right? Like it's all a vehicle sort of for him and his character.
Well, it's half about Ekko and then half about Jace.
I thought we split it kind of along those lines as we talk about Ekko and then Jace.
This was
funniest fucking shit I've ever seen in my life. There's just this cut of Ekko having the time of his goddamn life, and Jace just doing his best.
This is the most like 22 Jump Street shit.
With the trips,
the bad trip.
Sure, yeah.
Well, starting with
That's gonna be a good edit there. Yeah.
Right.
Love the vibes of this Zon. Oh my god, it was really beautiful. Their little like own academy and everything.
Yeah. It was really nice. I liked that Ekko was kind of like he was presented with so much temptation, right? He has every incentive to stay. Right, compared to like Jace, who has every incentive to leave the place he ended up. It's like everything is perfect here. He could be with. I assume I don't know if there's like ever been established that they had. Like,
I think they were together.
Had a childhood relationship.
As a children,
I
don't think so. I think maybe
like
a crush on her.
Yeah.
But it's like. You could just stay. I mean, there are moral implications of like snatching away some other Ekko's life aside, right? Like, I don't want to quibble too much about that because it's like the point of all of it is just that like it really just what am I trying to say? It makes him just that much more, I guess, heroic that he has to kind of turn away from what is so clearly an easy answer to everything, right? Just stay here, right? Mm-hmm. Which I guess like I liked.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. No, I do like him having to make this choice, and to him, it was never really a choice. Like, right? I don't even feel like he really debated it. He knew what he had to do, and he did it, and he barely hesitated. You know what I mean? Which is just it's such an Ekko thing to do.
Hella bummed about it.
Hella bummed.
But he knew he had to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's when he first runs into Heimer, right? Heimer, who's been there for like 3 years?
3 years.
Like that. What a patient guy.
I know.
Heimer's like, well, you'll get used to it. It's pretty cool. And Ekko immediately rejects the idea. I guess I'd be curious to see if Ekko sang the same tune after 3 years or like what if it took them a couple years to get their thing put together instead of, I don't know,
however long it took.
Yeah. Ever quick. One montage later.
I wonder, too, if Heimerdinger had a big effect on Zon being what it is now. He was there for 3 years, and when he came back in his body, he's on the council again.
He said he did.
Yeah, that's true.
He's like, I've been able to accomplish a lot in these past 3 years.
That's true. I'm more accepting of this big change in Zon, I feel like. I feel like Heimerdinger had such a hand in it. And
he invented the banjo.
He had. That's true. Oh, his song. Stop it. By the way, John clocked that immediately. The second a single word was spoken, he was like, it's Heimerdinger. Yeah.
I mean, look.
I didn't. It took me a second.
I mean, he's walked that walk, right? Like it's like, yeah, I sung a song as Heimerdinger.
Man, you were worlds ahead when you did Get Jinxed as Heimerdinger, by the way.
Such
Which
a
is on
trendsetter.
our YouTube, by the way. If you want Get Jinxed as sung by Heimerdinger, it is John. That John does that on our YouTube.
Man,
It's great.
I wish that had been like a little Easter egg that popped up at the end of the like in the credits or something. They had taken that audio and just played it over the credits.
God, a dream come true.
From Dead. Yeah, yeah, and the fact that I think he's supposed to just be playing for the children, but it comes off as if he's busking, like
Right?
It does.
He's just trying
Which
to
I
get
like
a
to
few
think.
extra gears
yeah, right.
from the children.
You Zon kids are rich in this universe.
Right? It wouldn't be the
fair.
first time a Zon child gave him gears.
It's true. I think he gave him back, though.
They give him a sandwich.
Technically, because we do see them. Actually, no, he tried to give them back, and then the mom came and scooped the kid away.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't know if you've played this, but in the Jinx fixes everything minigame and client, that top is still in Heimerdinger's lab,
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
which is a funny moment because Jinx is like, "Man, I gotta get me one of these," as if she wasn't building a minigun out of spare parts and couldn't make her own spinning top.
Maybe she can. Maybe it's irreplicable without Yordle magic.
Right?
Maybe.
No.
Speaking of Jinx, love Powder in this. My God. Oh God, this version of Powder. I just really love her.
It's so nice. Get the little
Her
violet
little
streak in her hair
buns.
too.
Yeah, the
and-
violet. And her hair matches Vander's. And Vander has Vi tattooed on his hand in this universe. Oh God, it's so heartbreaking. And it's heartbreaking to see that they can't. There's no universe where Jinx and Vi are happy together. It's just, even in this perfect Zon, Vi isn't there. She doesn't get to experience it. Fuck you, Riot. Can't they just be happy sisters in one universe?
There
You
could
know,
be. I mean,
I
we
like
don't
to
know.
imagine.
No,
In,
man,
like-
Victor said that at the end, he's gone to every universe and they all end this way.
Well, they might end that way.
I wonder
but,
if
you
even
know.
the nice one does, if this universe also ends that
Well,
way.
Hextech never. I mean,
Well, Jinx has the ability to
gonna say,
create
could very
Hextech.
well.
yeah, but she makes a very conscious decision to
Put
close
it away in the
door on
drawer.
it.
Yeah. I hope so.
That was my read on it. Is that it's very intentionally that she's aware of what it is that she has helped Ekko with, and it's
Oh, yeah,
purposely.
definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, seeing the Z drive, by the way, too. So exciting.
Very cool.
I
Sure.
was
Yeah.
hyped for that.
Yeah, the sequence of them creating the Z drive is, again, Ekko is really is the best, because it's like
Yeah.
we talked about it before about his powers being like they're limited. They've got a nice little rule set, and I think of like there's a lot of shit that happens in like this act that I think really could warrant a lot more rules and explanation. And Ekko's stuff is not that. That stuff is like, we get it. There's a little limitation. They do a neat little way of showing here's kind of the limit of it and the rules. And it all kind of feels contained and makes sense. It doesn't feel like it's not so big. It's very straightforward, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was sweet when Ekko first sees Cripes, I'm forgetting his name, Benzo again, because it's like that was his essentially his, I assumed, kind of his father figure in Zon. I don't know what happened to his actual parents, but I always got that read on their relationship. And the last time he saw Benzo, right, he was getting torn to shreds, right,
he was
by
so
a
young.
monster. Yeah, right, very traumatic experience, and it resonated with me when he saw him. I thought it was funny that Ekko is constantly hugging people and crying, because that's the first thing that happens when he runs into Benzo. And I know it's not the same Benzo, but it is still nice that he was in some way able to, like, again, it just like it connected with me at that moment, and then when he was able to at least kind of thank him. Different Benzo, but there's still some. It's like
Some
the thing where it's like, I know
closure there.
these. Yeah, closure. I know it's a different AU, and technically none of it matters, but like it matters for Ekko. I
It
guess is
does,
kinda
yeah.
what- So
I like that for Jinx's introduction to the party like when she makes her entrance there, the exact same shot composition.
Yes,
as her
of when you see
introduction in
her.
episode 4.
Oh my god, it's so cool. I saw it lined up.
Yeah, it's very
and
smart.
It's so well done. And that song that they dance to has been stuck in my head ever since. Yeah.
I was saying it to myself, and then my daughter asked me, like, she in her own way, what it was I was singing, and I was like, it's in French. I can't really, like, I don't really know the words. I just gotta know what they sound like. You know what I mean?
Did you guys see the fun little Spider-Verse fact about that dance scene? Or the dance scene was animated in 4 FPS, which is the Z drive seconds.
Oh.
Oh, I was gonna say, fun fact is that I think that song got massively popular, and I want to say it was like the most popular, most listened to French language song. I don't know if it's of all time currently on Spotify or something. I don't know. It's massive hit in terms of like one of the breakaway ones from the thing, which is good for the people who wrote it. I wish I could remember their name off the top of my head.
I know.
I'm sorry, I can't.
This was a great soundtrack, though, man.
I was gonna say it was another season of bangers, man.
Yeah, I knew it was gonna be, but still.
Sure. So let me think. I don't know. I a lot of puke in this episode. That was the note I had.
Waiting for him to say some deep shit. Like, I don't know, man. There's so much puke.
It just, it was enough that I had to write a note about it. I don't get bothered by it, but it really stuck out to me. I think the only thing I wanted to that feels weird to me about Ekko, or the Ekko scenes, is Heimerdinger's death / teleportation out of time and space, or whatever exactly happens to him. The scene is constructed a little weirdly to me because they're in the little portal and it's going off, and I understand that it has a couple cutaway shots to like a piece breaking off, and I get that it's trying to communicate that something is breaking and needs to be fixed, but it just kind of feels like abruptly Heimer kind of like yeets himself out of the thing and is like, well, I guess I'll, like, he doesn't even explain like, no, it can't hold, or, you know, or like, oh, the thing decoupled, I gotta go couple the thing, right? So I remember it was happening, and I was trying to think like, wait, what's happening? Is he not going with Ekko? Oh, he's fixing it. Oh, he's dead. Okay. I wasn't really like, or gone or something. I wasn't really like, I didn't realize I was that I was watching Heimer's death scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it definitely read a little bit like they were there and Heimer was like, but there's a secret power thing I've got to plug in, otherwise this won't work, and like jumped in and like plugged it together or some shit. Like that's kind of how it read, even though like, you know, that's not necessarily what it was, but
yeah, I again, it's just like 20 seconds here, I think, and a line or two would probably give you what you need to understand what's happening and what the sacrifice that Heimer's making, right? That he's kind of Spocking himself a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
And I know he's not.
Yeah, they say a lot in the show with like facial expressions and gestures, and I think they get away with not saying a lot because those things read so well. And I do think that sometimes either it doesn't land exactly like they think it does, or like, I don't know, they just get used to not having to explain those things, and
I don't know.
I'm left a little confused. It doesn't happen a lot, but it definitely does happen sometimes. Not quite sure what the intent was here.
I agree. I'd be curious. I think that's an interesting way to look at it, because that's the feeling I've had in a number of instances, especially looking through Act 3, where it's like, I feel like we needed a conversation here, a conversation there, a scene here. And with, I guess, like, talking about just expressions and stuff, in that sequence, Heimer has goggles over his eyes, too. So it's like, he's already, like, he's cartoony and he is expressive, right? But a lot of it is, through, eyes, and the window to the soul, right? It's like, we got these big, Ziggs goggles over them. It's like, okay, well, it's a little harder for you to understand what's happening, right? And it's like, the thing too also is that, like, remember Ekko like went off to go do his party, and when he came back, Heimer had like built up this whole thing. So Ekko doesn't even know necessarily what's happening. I, as the audience, certainly do not know exactly what's happening. I have a very like high level understanding of like, okay, Heimer has constructed something, and I guess they got to do it now. They can't do it tomorrow, not next week. They got to do it right now. That's the other thing that's a little weird. Is like there's never any sort of thing established like, oh, if we don't get back to the old universe, things will happen, or like, or time is still running in the old universe, you know, or something like that. There's a reason we need to be so rushed about it. It's like, you can take your time. Fuck it. Right?
I've been here 3 years.
Yeah,
I've been here 3 years. Who gives a fuck, right? And if it breaks, whatever.
He's just ready. He's ready to go.
You know what?
Get me back to Bandle City. Fuck.
I think he really likes the other Ekko better. It's like, we got to get this Ekko
There's
to
no
the
time.
fuck. I need the other guy back.
Ouch.
You are such a downer, other Ekko. Get the original guy back here.
Oh, I want to know what that Ekko's like so badly.
God, he's probably
so much less stressed.
yeah. Yeah.
At least Ekko's happy somewhere, right?
Right?
You know, yeah.
I mean, this Ekko's going to have a lot of questions that he didn't have before about the missing few days of his life.
Yeah, I wonder what that's like. Maybe it sort of backfills it, or maybe it just sort of like vaguely. I don't know. Who knows?
I feel like Powder would tell him.
Oh, I'm
Honestly,
sure, yeah.
she would just be upfront
Oh yeah,
about everything that happened. He'd probably find that incredibly fascinating.
Man.
But the problem is, if Powder tells him, does she risk that Ekko then becomes so interested in the tech that he wants to experiment with her crystals?
No, I don't think Ekko would do some shit like that. If it could threaten all of Zaun itself, I don't know.
Does he know that? I don't know how deep the conversation they've had about the alternate universe are.
Yeah, who knows? I don't want to get too bogged down.
Clearly.
That's true, yeah.
That's the thing, right? It's just like it is a good point. He could have fucked up this other universe on his way out. It's like, all right, later, and then just like rippling effects of, you know, Ekko creates hex tech or some other horrible thing.
Don't put a downer on this. No.
Well, pretend he didn't.
Dare.
Well, this
Ekko is very interested. He looks at the pictures of Vi. He's like, "Wow, I'm so cool in this other universe. Let's go dancing." Powder and study.
I wish he had put like a picture of himself from the other universe on there too. Like, and by the way, this is also I look cool too over here.
She did get to see him.
That's true.
I've got this.
His true
This is what my
form.
mask used to look like. No one knew who I was. This was
I was the mystery.
If it were for that damn knee, I'd be playing pro right now.
I do like too that with this ship. I mean, I feel like the sisters have the best ship names. Like,
this one's Time Bomb.
This one's Time Bomb.
Which is very good.
Which is great. And like the Vi one too. I don't know how Kate Vi or Vi Kate caught on when like Violin is right there.
Oh, Violin is very good. I like Time Bomb though. Time Bomb's a good name.
Yeah, Time Bomb and Violin, favorite ship names for these sisters.
Yeah, I don't have too much more for the Ekko side of things. Like I said, what I said at the start, it's nice to do something that is a lot about what's going on with the character and their emotions, and really zoom things down a little bit, slow things down and zoom it in a little bit. It's nice.
One random note, and speaking of zooming in, y'all see when he was walking across the bridge, there's like a guy spinning a big wheel on the bridge. Kind of looked like a, I don't know, Wheel of Fortune style wheel, I guess, or some like carnival game. But on the back of the wheel, it had like a ton of pro team
really?
symbols on it. Yeah, they had like Fnatic on there, and like T1 and Gen.G. A bunch of teams are on there.
Yeah, I guess
but
little
like
details
animated in a very arcane, Piltover languagey style.
I gotta check it out. I'm curious to see what it looks like through that lens.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Little detail I felt like I noticed when I was watching in the Ekko bit too is that I feel like a lot of the sort of extras like a number of them I feel like are Silco goons. I think one of them is like the bartender Chuck, whatever, from season 1. Like a number of people who just like it's clear their lives have taken such very different paths, right? And you've seen these character models floating around in spaces.
Yeah, a lot of the same
very
people.
cool. Yeah, the guy getting his haircut was the one who like tried to shake down Huck in the first episode, and
yeah, just
so
little
many
things
nice
like that.
recurring
Nice.
faces.
Yeah,
It was very
I mean, you
sad
got
to
them
see
animated.
the Jinxer show up there, given that we know
the
we knew her ultimate fate.
She's one of the saddest characters who doesn't like have any lines or anything really, and I'm just like so devastated.
Gertie, I think her name was.
Oh, was it
Was it?
Gertie?
if you say so. You could say anything. They never said her name. I guarantee they never said it.
They did. They said her name several times.
Oh, really?
Because who is it? Milo had a crush on her and tried to have a conversation
Oh,
with her.
that's right.
Oh yeah, I guess they did. Yeah, I stand corrected. Well,
mean, I
maybe
wanna say
maybe she has a different name in the other universe.
Mate, honestly.
Gertie.
No, you don't. Right.
Anyway, on to Jace.
Hurdy. Yeah, it's about Jace, the kind of polar opposite.
Can you take me higher?
Stop.
You know, it's funny you dropped the you dropped the Creed rev, because I did feel like there were bits where he's dragging that hammer through Silent Hill, and it's like it struck of like cross imagery a little bit.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
which I thought was kind of interesting.
Also,
Right.
there were several points in this episode that seemed like they were ripped directly out of A Christmas Carol. Just like specifically like Mickey's Christmas Carol even. Like
I was thinking about that
the
today.
first scene when he teleports there and the fog's everywhere, and then he sees, you know, what looks like the Grim Reaper, basically. Just this tall, skinny dude with a fucking tall scythe. Straight out of Christmas Carol. Like, I fully expected him to walk towards the fog and there to be a grave there and be like, Spirit, whose grave is this? Why, yours, Jace.
Jace Lighthammer or whatever. Whatever the fuck. Talos, whatever the fuck his name is.
To be fair, he does kind of come across as grave at the
Right?
end there.
And then, like, he goes to Jace and he's like, tell me, Spirit, are these the things that will be or the things that may be?
Yeah, but where's a big laughing Muppet who's like, come in and know me better, Jace? Right?
No, Jesus, with these nieces.
Wow, I did not expect the Mickey Christmas Carol.
Yeah, Mickey specifically is.
Yeah,
That was-
I mean...
I was thinking about that today. That's weird. That's spooky. What struck me a lot about Jace, I'll say Jace's experience in the shitty universe, is that it feels like it's very intentionally kind of putting him in Victor's position. I know people pointed out a lot in Act 2 the way he's kind of outfitted is super Victory, right? Like the one pauldron, the circular fastener, the leg, etc. And even what he goes through here is like similar to what Victor has. Like Victor, like it's a physical representation of like Victor's experience, right? He's dragged, he's down in the depths, he has to pull himself out, he loses the ability to walk, he has to give himself the ability, right? Like it seems intentional, but why? And that's my question: is like, why is it so specifically putting him into like Victor's position? What, like, I don't have an answer. But it seems like it was purposeful.
That's a tough one.
know.
I know he does really come to the conclusion at the end of this show that, you know, his line was, "You were never broken," right? And that his flaws make him who he is, and all of that, and that, you know, Victor hated his body, and how devastating that was. So I don't know if this is kind of connected to that in a way, and just kind of having Jace experience what Victor had to go through every day of his life, not even really touching on it truly, right?
Right.
As horrible as this experience is, he can never truly know what Victor had to go through his entire life. So yeah. I'm not sure.
I don't know either. It just is something that it seems like really, like I said, very purposeful, but I can't tell you why. Especially with how the things resolve with him and Victor, it doesn't feel like I personally don't feel like this gets like a really clear, concise sort of resolution in how the series or their relationship or their arc or whatever story concludes. but I could be swayed otherwise if someone could present it to me. I did think there were a lot of sequences when they kind of showed like the time kind of going on while he was down in the crevice, and I thought we were gonna get like a void corruption thing going on, because they have him eating stuff and they show his wound, and it all seems like it's getting a little more corrupted itself,
right.
like the wound on his leg, and Victor had that line in the last arc or last act about like there's another will at work within him, which I guess now in retrospect means like, does he mean like the Victor from that?
Right. That's kind of what I assumed.
I
It's
guess,
just like,
but
there's another Will, and it's like really hot. Like, who is that?
But
I
anyway,
did
that's
find
where
a
I thought
lot
they were
of
going
their
with it.
stuff very confusing, I'll say. Just in general,
I agree.
the corrupt hex tech in general, I found very confusing. The fact that it ended up not being void at all, obviously that's disappointing for us as big fans of that. But it also made me just more and more confused.
Yeah.
I didn't really get why it was spreading on his leg. What does that mean? Is it going to continue to spread? Would it have continued to spread? And what would that do to him? I don't know if I'm dumb or if it just wasn't explained super well. I do feel like I understood the aspect of their relationship the most. Kind of in the end with Jace, I feel like he just really fucking loved Victor. However you want to describe that love, you can. A lot of people see it as romantic. A lot of people don't. Either way, you can't dispute that he cared about him so deeply. And it wasn't even about stopping Victor because of what he's doing to everybody else, but it's stopping him because of what that had turned him into, and Jace just wanting him to be Victor again, this person that he loves so much. So I felt like I felt that, but I did not get any of the rest.
It had
I was very confused about why people turned it to weird metal gods. Like that was strange to me. I don't know why it looked the way it did.
It had a vibe to me, like, and we've kind of talked about this a lot with Kiana, right? But it had a vibe to me of like, God, I'm gonna forget the name of their magic system now.
The Axiomata.
The Axiomata. So like, it's a magic system that is simultaneously over-explained while also still being too confusing to grasp any specifics about. And that's kind of the feeling I got here. Like they put a lot of effort into the nitty-gritty, almost like mechanics that still don't clarify anything about it, because it's a system of magic basically. And I think maybe they wanted to like give us more details because it's supposed to be the combination of science and magic, so maybe the additional details will help. But at the end of the day, it's still a system of magic that is confusing and won't make sense no matter how you explain it. And I would almost rather get less information about it and be like, it's fucking magic.
Sure.
Magic stuff. Like, no, like, I didn't give a shit when Heimerdinger took a handful of gears and then he put them into a shirt and then he popped out a top. I don't fucking care how you did that. It's magic. I don't need to know the mechanics. I'm very forgiving of hand-waving magic until you start trying to explain it to me. And then I need to understand everything.
It's also the scope of it too, right? It's like if Heimer was hand-waving away massive problems or hand-waving massive problems into existence, you might have more questions. But because it's a little top that he tries to give to a little kid, it's like, who gives a fuck, right? If that's all that, this was doing, he probably would give it less of a shit. Yeah, this is
I will say one other thing too that really struck me about this, and it will probably only have struck me because I don't think either of you watched this or gave a shit, but how similar this was to the finale of like Naruto.
I did see people compare that actually.
Really?
I didn't watch the video because I was like, I don't care about Naruto. So you nailed me there. But I did see somebody else draw that comparison.
And like,
when you're right, you're right.
The fact that it's so similar, and the Naruto one, everyone was like, yeah, I get it. It's like big fucking magic tree. That's all we need to know. Like, but it basically worked. But big fucking magic tree, consumed everyone. Everyone became a leaf in the big magic tree. Imagery very similar to the whole vines with the, but like
spoiler alert for Naruto, by the way.
I guess, yeah, I don't know. I thought you were gonna say that like Sasuke sent Naruto back in time to kill Sasuke or some shit. I don't fucking know. I don't. That's legit what I thought you were getting at. I don't know.
That's called the Terminator.
Yeah, I will say to their credit, there's a lot of magic bullshit in Naruto, but I don't think they touch on time travel unless I'm forgetting.
That's shocking.
That is shocking, right? Yeah, this is what I was talking about when I was saying, like, you know, Ekko, it was nice to get some rules. It's contained. It's pretty small scale. It all makes sense. I get it. With this, it's like, I don't know. I could not tell you really what's going on with the wild rune or the corruption. I thought I had an idea of it, but once we got into Act 3, it's like you said, none of the void threads got really resolved. I thought maybe it's something they're just trying to tease further into another series.
Or
but
it just has nothing to do with the void at all.
Which I feel like it's kind of like it feels like a cheat from the creators, and to be like, oh, here's all this imagery that anyone who knows anything about the void would obviously immediately draw an association with, and then to be like, it's not actually the void. We never said it was the void. It's
true.
Like, okay,
it would be like,
but fuck you.
Imagine if this season that big creature that Singed was working on was not Warwick. It would be the equivalent of that.
You're right.
We never said it was Warwick. Come on now. It doesn't say it's Rengar in there. Show me where it says.
Wow. What a
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I will say though that like all of the like the art direction and the landscapes that Jace moves through are all they're really
so
beautiful.
Cool. It's very horror-like too. Like when he's walking through those, what they look like statues, and you think that they're not living anymore, but they've just been sleeping, really, because there's as Victor finds out, there's just nothing to do, nothing going on, so they've all just stood still for so long, and then to see them start to move and notice that there's somebody new here was really creepy, and I really like that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also found it interesting, like how this may also be something related to him being put through Victor's paces. How at the end he's kind of like walking through them, and they don't attempt to like stop him or attack him. I don't think they ever actually. I could be wrong. I'd have to rewatch the sequence where they first show up, because that's when things are a lot more chaotic and scary. But do they ever actually try to like stop him or grab him or I know they're spooky.
It would make sense if they did, because Victor is controlling them all still, and Victor wants this Jace here.
Yeah,
doesn't he? So
assumedly, this is man. I don't like whenever I try and think about like the Victor, especially I'll call him Time Lord Victor, or we can call him Savior Victor, whatever we want to call him. Whenever I think about him, it starts to open up a big can of worms of questions of like, why doesn't he just zip down into Jace where he's at and tell him what's going on? Does Jace need to like
go through
suffer?
This? Yeah.
And why? Like, you know what I mean? It's like questions. It raises a lot of questions for like why weren't things done in other ways. I don't have much else for Jace, I'll say. I do have one big question for this episode broadly. More on a meta level, which is that I really like this episode being slow and quieter and smaller. However, we've already kind of alluded to it in that I think this act especially, and maybe this season is I think rushed. I think there's a lot going on. It's really, really, really fastly paced. Do we have time for an episode like this? I just want to throw it out there.
I think so. I think
we should.
One. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you lose this episode and instead spend that time, I guess, like exploring more of the other
just everything else that they needed to explore,
then it will feel less rushed and more bloated almost. I mean, it already kind of feels that way a little bit. Like I think, like I called it a palate cleanser at the beginning, and I really do think they needed something like that here.
Yeah, it makes Ekko's saving moment hit so much harder as well, especially with Jinx, because he does go back and save Jinx's life, and I do think I needed this episode for him to forgive her, because it seemed like it would never happen. in this world. And I think he had to see who Powder could be in order to understand that she's a product of her environment, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely needed this episode, I would say. But yeah, you're right, Mark. I don't know. It could have been filled with lots of other things, or
I don't know.
It's tough because there was a lot they needed to expand on. They needed the last episode to be like an hour and a half long.
Yeah, that's for damn sure.
It's take a lesson from Stranger Things.
indulge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't think it's bad. I think it's like, I always remember there was some episode we did about somebody who had a really long bio, and I remember you, Rebecca, saying it's like, I know we complained about how much there is, but ironically, I need more. And that's how I kind of feel about this, is that like, we don't really have the, I feel like within the context of the whole season, we don't really have the time to do this, but at the same time, we need more. We need this episode and more of this, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, it feels like I'm torn in both directions. I'm catch-22 almost. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it reminded me of a little bit? Did you end up watching the live-action Sandman on Netflix?
Yeah, I did.
How they released the season, and then after the season released, they also then released like just one more episode that was not maybe necessarily tied to the storyline of the season. I almost feel like if you keep the Jace part in here a little bit, and like a little bit of the Ekko part, and then include some of the other storylines from like the other shit, and then include like an entire episode afterwards that's more of like Ekko in this timeline, and include a lot of the stuff we see here, like maybe that would kind of fit here. And like,
sure,
I don't know, it'd probably be awkward, but I'm no fucking screenwriter, but I mean, that might be a way around it. Yeah, it worked for Sandman.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting comparison. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting comparison. The thing about that Sandman episode is that also that he's just kind of more incidentally in it. You know, that's the one where it's like there's a story that's happening, and then, you know, Dream kind of just flits in a little bit. As I recall, I've seen it exactly once. So
I mean, it's much easier to do anything like that with Sandman too, just because of how they're telling their stories.
Sure.
Costs less to make too.
I suppose that's true. But yeah, I think that's. I'm fine to jump into
Episode
8. Yeah. Okay, how did I break this down? I kind of broke it down.
We were wrong about just everything with how we thought this whole situation was going to resolve itself, and the explosion and everything. We just see the aftermath of the explosion that killed Isha.
Okay, that was a note I had, is I really wish they had done more of a proper reveal of what exactly happened in that moment, because it gets a lot of vague illusion, and I want to know why Warwick is not goo, like, because they kind of show him and he's just kind of a dead corpse, but not really dead because there's still some Vander in him, seemingly.
Yes.
So like,
I was kind of okay with some of the reveals, particularly of Jinx, to see that where she has gone and where she has spiraled so completely into just depression. Like, she did not get mad, she did not try to get revenge, as people may have predicted, and with Vi waking up and everything. But I agree about Warwick. It's just, his top half should be pretty gone. You know, he gets stronger later when he turns into like Galio Warwick or whatever he is, where bullets are all bouncing off of him.
Wario.
Oh, I hated that so much. Wow, as he's attacking his daughters. Anyway, but yeah, I agree. I was really like a shock to just suddenly be with Ambessa in the aftermath of this, and everybody's gone and people are healing and everything, and I'm like, hang on.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. It's again, like, this is where, I mean, okay. I think if you're someone who really liked episode 8 and 9, you might want to, like, just I'm gonna tell you right now, I wasn't really a fan of either of them, and this is like where things start like really start like the pace that starts getting kind of breakneck. I feel like, and this is an example of it where it's like I want like this was a massive almost cliffhanger at the end of the last act, and there's a reason everyone was so filled with these like what's gonna happen, what's the result of it, and it's never really, I feel like, reasonably concluded on, because I need to know, how did everyone get out? How did everyone get away? You know, like how are like no, it seemed obviously no one was hurt by that blast, but like I have no idea. I assume those 3 gemstones going to cause a pretty big problem. But it just seems like all of our heroes were able to get away.
And they shouldn't have been able to get away. I mean, with
assumedly.
3 hex
maybe
tech
not. I don't know.
gems. I mean, these are gemstones and not crystals, which is the explosion that powder caused. So it is different. But it's still, Vi just being injured and not being obliterated doesn't make any sense to me. But again, if we saw the explosion in more detail, I would have maybe accepted some of the shit. But the way we see the explosion, they're all just engulfed in like a bright white heat. You know, that kills things. Yeah.
Heat, that'll get you.
That'll get you. Heat is hot.
It's a dry heat though, so you know it's okay.
They are in the desert here, wherever it is. Right. It looks like a desert now. I guess it wasn't before.
The heat's uncomfortable. It's the humidity that kills you.
Yeah.
So I think at this point, I don't remember the exact like order of things. My things are kind of broken down along character lines. Mel is like the first in my line, so I feel like Mel is kind of where we went to first. I could be wrong.
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
This is where we get like the reveal of what's going on with Mel, right? That she's the mage, and she, that LeBlanc redesign is looking litty, I will say. I do want to throw that out there. And I thought it was funny that LeBlanc, even in Arcane, LeBlanc's like, we can't afford another failure. The Black Rose taking L's at all turns, right? But I thought it was interesting that LeBlanc was kind of putting forward to Mel that she comes off almost altruistic. I don't know if she is actually at all altruistic, but the reason she's even doing any of this is because she foresees this grand disaster that Embess is at the head of. And so that's why LeBlanc is doing all this crap, is not necessarily just for power, but to actually stop, you know, the victoring, right? From wiping Piltover off the map. Maybe for her own purposes, but it is an interesting thing. Something I also, I guess, want to like signpost now, because I'm going to come back to it later, is that LeBlanc tells Mel that her magic is, you know, empathic. She's kind of a magical sort of conduit and mirror that can influence others. And I just want to throw that out there now, because I feel like that's not at all reflected in the way her magic manifests, right? Like,
and it's funny that you use the word reflected. Yeah, I was thinking that same thing. I was like, okay, that's a cool idea for a power. I feel like that's not what
she's got going on.
I feel like we see one very specific power over and over again with Mel, and it's a shield. Yeah. Big shield.
Yeah.
Shield.
Well, I mean, I will say that like it's I guess telling that I think they've announced Mel's going to be a champion, right? Yeah. She's in the pipeline, and it's like, well, once she gets her powers unlocked, she kind of stops. Man, I'm gonna start going really hard on episode 8. I'm like Mel probably. It's because like she stops being the interesting character that I remember from season 1, and she turns into a League of Legends champion, right? Which is like, I was way more interested in Act 1, where Mel was like convincing a Vestayan to give her the dirt to put Sallow out of commission, as compared to her throwing up shields and using like power, like being a superhero, right? It's like it's
yeah, I'm with you. I was enamored, so I don't care as much, but I also think there's less opportunity for us to see her, like, her political genius in what's going on right now, I guess. And in a way, we almost do see some things, because she does use the Black Rose to stop her mother, and then double crosses the Black Rose, which is pretty fucking hard, I do gotta say. That's a ballsy ass thing to do.
Assumedly, but like, I mean, assumedly, because they suck. But like, but more also, it's like, because it comes off, again, this is the thing where it comes off like it's just her exerting raw power rather than like manipulating or influencing or sort of
I'll be with you there
beguiling.
for sure. Yeah, it would
You
have
know what I
been
mean?
way more interesting if she, was able to use the Black Rose without being so manipulated by them. Like, we see that she has somehow turned on them in a way that isn't just to do with her new powers.
Yeah.
Now, am I the only one who didn't know what the fuck happened? For that
I was
At
a
the
little
very end?
confused.
with the Black Rose.
I was a little
It's like-
confused
You're
that she
not.
was overpowering them, and I was like, how did you even just overpower LeBlanc, first of all?
What
That seemed
exactly
wild.
did she mean by "I see your face, deceiver"?
Yes.
What does that mean in this context? What did they do to Ambessa? She looked fine for a second there.
Well, I'm thinking
assume
here
they
with
were,
the...
like,
in her
They're
brain.
sucking. Yeah, they're sucking her
They
brain
sucked out her
juices
brain
out.
Sucking.
something. Yeah.
It's a big. It's a brain bug. It's
Yeah.
some sort of smart.
Starship Troopers.
Right.
Brain bug. But with with the "I see your face, deceiver," I think maybe that does have to do with her magic, and these weird like empathy, I don't know, feelings, powers that she has that we can't really see. I think
be.
she maybe has actually seen LeBlanc's face. She can somehow see her face when she's trying to cover it up, and that could be what, I don't know, weakens LeBlanc. Is she like Rumpelstiltskin? Like, if you guess
I don't know. Like, that's the thing. Like, even if she means it so literally, I don't know what the importance of it is.
That's why she's constantly being called the Pale Woman. Is because she can't
she's
tell
like,
anyone her real
you people can't call my name.
Big L. I'm open to it. I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I almost read it as more of like a, maybe not even literal, but just like, I recognize that you yourself are also not speaking truth. Like, Mel is kind of caught in a position of like, LeBlanc is saying one thing, and we know that, you know, she even makes the point of it, like, yes, she is lying, but the lies are kind of coated in some truth, right? And Ambessa is saying some things, and she knows that some of that is true. It's the same thing, right? Some of it is what Ambessa is saying is true, but she's also kind of working towards her own ends, and she's, maybe it's like she just sees kind of through all the bullshit. I'm open to that. What I will say is that, like, for starters, it's hard because Mel is essentially like sidelined for a lot of this season, which I think is a real shame, and it's hard, and that's part of why it's hard for her to express her diplomatic and negotiating and schemey acumen, is because she's stuck in a fucking box for a lot of the season. And the other thing is that, like, imagine that, like, we revealed Mel's abilities, that she's an empath mage in like episode 4, and Mel had to deal with that fact. And how would you feel if you thought you were really good at some skill, you're like chainsaw, like wood carving or whatever, I don't know, watercolors, you're really good at watercolors, right? And it's something you've spent tons of your years of your life learning to do, and it's like you've really been brought up to be like, I'm an amazing watercolor artist, and then you find out, well, you've actually just got this magical talent that makes you good at watercoloring. You know, it'll give you a big crisis of identity and trying to figure out who you actually are, and I don't know, it's something she
and
could
her
deal with.
having to hide it and whatnot. This also means that Mel didn't know about the shield, which is what we thought. We thought that she did. That was when she started to be like, "Ooh, maybe I am magical."
She legit was just like, I don't know, I guess we're just fucking lucky that we didn't die in that that explosion.
Also, just a weird thing, when she does unlock the ability, right? We get to see this like more golden version of Mel, right? Like, she still has the metal on her that she's always had, but she has more of it now, which leads me to believe that, like, she's just had this metal and she's just never questioned what it was. Like, it's not a fashion accessory; it's just part of who she is, and she's never had any questions.
I really want to go back to season 1 when she's a little kid or younger anyway, and I really want to try and look again at her design and see if any of those gold elements show up. I feel like we were talking about this when we did our revisit, and we were, or like maybe even last episode, like last episode or Act 1, and we thought that they were all covered, which they very well could be.
Worth a recheck.
But it's a good question, right? Like, I don't know, that to me, that was a weird turn to me too. Because I remember thinking, there's no way she's not sandbagging. She obviously knows what's happening and is keeping Jay, like, still, even though she has this genuine connection with Jay's, is still kind of, in a way, kind of manipulating him, or at least kind of keeping him out of the loop when it's not.
When it comes to her being a mage. And
something like that. Whatever was going on at the time in Act 1 that we didn't know. But Yeah, and then there's a bit where Jace is like looking back at the council chambers and like, kind of like at the desks, and he seems to know that Mel was the reason, but it wasn't like quite clear to me how he had deduced that. Is it because of the? Is
I
it
think
just
it's
because
the way
of
the rubble was and everything?
Yeah.
Like that whole area was completely clean, also clean of like ash and debris. Like there was.
But he doesn't know
nothing
she's
there.
From Jace's perspective, he has no idea that she is a mage, right? Like it to me, it seems like too big of a leap. That just like all you can tell from that is that you two were safe, but that you would then kind of jump to like, oh, obviously Mel is the I don't know. Maybe that's not too big a leap. I mean, I don't know.
I did like the confrontation here between the two of them too, where like
They hadn't
finally
interacted
just,
in
like,
so long.
Right? Yeah.
But like you really, it was nice to see them acknowledging essentially the elephant in the room in their relationship, right? Like Jesus had a lot of time to think about this. He's like, you're still cool and all. Like I get we did our thing, but like you really manipulated us for a ton of shit. And she's like, yeah, that happened. Like it's you're not wrong, but like here we are. So
it's kind of a shame that he's busy like looking for a Victor monster or whatever at the time, because I feel like the little bit I can hear of her, she's giving a really good explanation of like, well, yeah, you were two really smart inventors with this new technology, and like, yeah, you were an investment in a way that made a lot of sense.
I'm a counselor. Like, come on, what do you want from me here?
It made sense the bit I heard, and then he blasted a hole into something, and then we kind of lost the whole thread. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, broadly, I guess with Mel, I'll just say I'm less interested in Battle Mage Mel than I am in kind of morally gray but complex and in some ways benevolent schemer manipulator Mel. She came off as like I said, season 1 she was a really big surprise standout for me, because she comes off as like really archetypal like character, and then you find out there's more depth and complexity to her, and she goes through a little arc, right? She at the end of season 1 she's like really changed in some ways about how she makes a really strong decision to reject the Medarda thing broadly, which I feel like it's walked back a little bit in some places. So I don't know, it's like I kind of liked her when she wasn't a League of Legends champion, you know what I mean?
And I'll say, to be on the other end, I'm a sucker. And I thought she was super cool. Loved seeing her fight. Loved seeing her shields. Loved the classic AD carry and support getting annihilated by the top laner. I thought that was really fun. Can't wait to take Mel and Caitlyn in the bot lane with John when she's released. I thought that was a blast.
Get the Ambessa TP.
Yeah, literally.
The Maddie headbox.
Oh,
That was very creative, I'll say. Yeah.
Chef's kiss. She didn't even have to.
Stunning.
All she had to do was shield Caitlyn.
No.
She put a box around her head for us.
she did. It was beautiful.
But yeah, that's mostly it for Mel. We can talk about Victor. Man, is there anything what am I not going to get upset about here when I start talking about this stuff? Yeah, okay, so like, hold on. I also didn't separate my episodes 8 and 9 notes. They just kind of bleed into each other. Yeah, I think I've got.
That's okay. I feel like Victor's arc really does bleed into each other here in 8.
Yeah, so like with Victor, like the Victor's from as we saw him in Act 2 into convert everyone feels like massively abbreviated for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is like his monologue at the end of Act 2 does not cut it. I feel like there's attempts almost in this episode and then like the next episode to almost like backfill it a bit. Like they make mention of it being like an obsession that he's got with perfection, which I never read from him. He has a line about like the glorious evolution is destined, which was it feels like it comes out of nowhere, which is hard because it's like the big inciting thing for what happens in the big climax of everything, right? So it's like, I don't know, this is our big villain that's unifying everybody, but I've not bought into his his journey to being that villain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved the monologue. I thought that was a great first step.
First step.
First step of many. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in my head, I kind of I compare this, and obviously they don't have nearly as much time to do this as Smallville did, but like it always reminds me of like the Lex Luthor turn in Smallville, which like in my mind was always kind of like, that's my ideal villain turn. I feel like from like best friend to villain, and I would have loved more steps in that transformation to end up with the Victor that we knew was going to be there at the end.
Yeah, I was at first just giving credit to the corruption of the wild hex rune or whatever we're calling it, or whatever it's called. But it was so easy for Jace to bring him back, like, down to Earth, or Runeterra, or whatever planet they're on. That didn't feel right to me anymore. I feel like if he had been corrupted by this hex tech, that he wouldn't have been able to find himself again, which he does in the end. So yeah, I definitely think we needed a lot more time with it. And I do love his turn in the end, and Jace just, I like his just question of why do you persist, and Jace's answer to that I thought was really beautiful. But yeah, we needed a lot more.
And I would be willing to accept that. I'd be willing to accept that Singed is to blame for some of that.
I'm with that.
Because like, we know that Singed is fucking tinkering with this shit. We know that that like Victor final form is very much just Singed fucking tinkering with the
he's really just having a
Warwick
day. He's loving it,
right? Singed,
seeing what
big
he can
Arcane winner here.
I'm seeing like Singed highest win rate of Arcane, right? Like,
but yeah, like if they had touched on that a bit more. But the problem was by the time Victor was like, okay, Singed, do your thing. Like, I feel like he had already made that decision. So,
yeah.
It's hard to blame the Singed corruption on that. I think if we had gotten more Singed corruption before that, it would hit better for me.
Or getting Mbessa in there with him, because she does eventually kind of come over and is trying to use, Victor and all of that for her own gain. And I think Mbessa is a master manipulator. Her having an influence on Victor could have worked instead of Caitlin, but
yeah, I could see there's a lot of ways you could have taken it. Frankly, this is again the thing where it's like more time, pull it out a bit more, stretch it out. I know there's a few lines or two you could probably look to in probably this season and maybe even in season 1 that kind of relate to the emotions thing, but it's just it's definitely not enough. I feel like, and yeah, his willing, like, they make a big point in the previous act about how he was not willing to sacrifice Vander for his own sake, and then now he's like, all right, do it, make the evil Iker come out of his eyes, erase that guy.
Erase the guy. I never met him. Fuck it.
That dude right there turned him into a monster. So it's a little hard for me to get on board with the Victor train, broadly speaking. I was curious, like, would Victor have reached this conclusion if Jace had not tried to shoot a giant hole in him, right? If Jace had done literally anything else aside from blasting a giant gaping hole in him, would he have?
Strange, especially once we see what he went through now. Like, is that what the old Victor told you to do, was to go back in time and try to blow up his old self? Because I don't think that was it, man.
I struggled with this a lot because that's what ends up resolving it is Victor being able to, like, they hold hands or whatever, right? And Victor sees what happened, and he sees like, oh, I get it now. Now, that being said, that does happen after Ekko throws a big exploding Z drive in his face, in Victor's face. So maybe he needed a little wake up call. You gotta slap a little sense into him before he
had to get that
you
mask
smack
off.
Someone with an anomaly real quick.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. It's in, I guess, to their credit, I'll say that, like, they make a big point of. I had to go back and I rewatched some of the Jace sequences in the Act 2, just like, okay, now that I know what's happening, let me rewatch that with that context. And, he's going through the commune, and he's seeing, like, the flashes from the old universe, and it's like, maybe it's just not altogether there, and he kind of thought things were too far gone, and like, Victor was beyond reason, and he thought that killing Victor in that way would solve the problem. I'm open to that interpretation, right? That, like,
that doesn't work for me, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
don't get me wrong.
If all Victor just had to see what was going to happen, they could have had that moment without him trying to blow Victor up.
Yeah, and like you said, the
I don't
big
know if
whole
we're
thing
missing
of
something here, but
no. And like you said, the big way it all resolves is that Jace cares about Victor, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's at the core of it. Is he cares about him just as a genuine friend, or whatever, however you want to interpret it, and the idea that he wouldn't at least this is so funny, because it's like my frustrations with, like, their old lore, that, like, they didn't just sit down and Jace didn't just tell Victor,
right.
Victor, buddy, I want to have a conversation before I power slam your ass, like,
right, like,
I
the
don't
guy
know.
wouldn't have put up much of a fight if they tried to talk first.
he did almost blast that kid, right, in Act 2, right? Like, that's like my attempt to support that, like, he's just maybe not altogether there, or is just still kind of reeling from being
He was eating a lot of
back.
rotten fish, all right? We know what
Or
that
lizards
does to
or
the
whatever.
brain.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I do think in the end it probably would have ended up the same way, because I think if Jace were not there to blow a big hole in Victor, I for sure think that the Noxians would have fucked up Victor in some way that would have let Victor come to the same conclusion. Because we know that they were there to get Vander. We know that Victor wasn't going to give up Vander in his current state, and we know the Noxians weren't going to take that as an actual answer. Like,
yeah.
So I think the end state stays the same, but yeah, how they get there was... I almost would have preferred that, right? It would have made more sense.
Yeah, it would have made more sense.
Sure. And what does Sky think of this too? I was so surprised that
I'm
Sky.
so confused by Sky and what she was, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
No evil shoe ever dropped. I kept expecting that there was gonna be some evil turn from her, and nope, she was just good until the end. And then at some point, Victor's like, "All right, well, I'm gonna get this Warwick put into me, and you're gonna go away. Sorry, I had to get rid of you. Goodbye, Sky." Right? Like, he had to have. That conversation almost had to have happened between the two of them, right? Because she's there with him for every decision he makes, and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna do it. Start the process." Like, this guy, why doesn't she try to stop him? Right? She just seems like, all right.
Right. Like, she seems like...
She doesn't seem to
don't
be
think
to like
that was
it.
really Sky, but I don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, I don't
for
know
sure.
either.
She seems like both an actual entity and also like a philosophical entity, right? Like,
Yeah, she's like Jiminy
like
Cricket.
She's like his humanity, right? And she disappears when his humanity disappears.
Yeah, I
like
get
that.
it.
I like that she's his Jiminy Cricket.
It's like, yeah, I agree. I get that. But it's like you said though. But she's got a voice.
Right.
She attempts to sway him to not like
Oh,
kill
true, yeah.
Warwick, right? Because it
Warwick,
might
yeah.
kill him. So it's like, doesn't she try and sway him to not get turned into a big meatball or whatever, right?
Big
Like,
meatball.
I saw people referring to his like cocoon, which what the fuck is that? I don't know what that is. That doesn't show up until it just is there at the start of this episode.
It's his meatball.
It is a meatball. Yeah, he just turned into a big meatball, right? Like, so.
And like, is she? Yeah. So like, yeah, a lot. Again, weird logistic magic shit. But yeah, it makes it seem like she doesn't exist outside of, Victor's consciousness, right? But is she in? Which would mean that she's not like in the Arcane. She's in Victor's idea of the Arcane. Somehow it's weird.
Yeah, I always forget. I forget that like the Arcane is like this thinking reactive intelligence or entity is kind of a concept that's floating around in here. Yeah, anyway, I don't know. I don't have much more on the Victor side of things. We could jump into like Jinx or Vi. Those are
I'm
kind
down
of
because this is the area that I liked the most. I would say Jinx in particular.
yeah, Jinx I would agree with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love everything that's going on with her. I loved her conversation with Caitlyn. Caitlyn coming down and even talking to her, I think is big for Caitlyn here. Because at the beginning of this season, she's all about just getting to Jinx, and things have changed so much that that's not important as much anymore, I guess. And I don't think she could forgive Jinx, but in a way, she kind of does, I guess. And Jinx not apologizing. I like that too. People brought that up a lot. They don't like that Jinx didn't. Well, they're fine with Jinx not apologizing. They don't like that Caitlyn didn't apologize. And to me, an I'm sorry doesn't mean nearly as much as everything else that she does in order to make amends. The biggest one being that she sends all of the guards away to allow Vi to go down there and let Jinx out. This is not unintentional, you know. But yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I would be very surprised to. I guess I never expected Caitlyn to be in a position to apologize specifically to Jinx. I don't think Caitlyn
maybe it was
really
for
is.
Vi, maybe. I guess she didn't apologize to Vi. But I don't know. In a way, I think she did. I don't know.
I guess.
But yeah, again, Jinx did kill her mother, and that's something we have to keep in mind. As much as I love Jinx and everything, and no character is perfect here, and Caitlyn does heinous things and retaliation. That did still happen.
Yeah.
Sure, right.
Jinx is an agent of chaos and is going to cause a lot of collateral damage all around her. And, this is just kind of... We're getting to see some of that collateral damage firsthand. And, it's through the eyes of someone we like.
Yeah. Seeing her hair unbraided is wild. And knowing that they did that, they took the string out of her shirt as well so she wouldn't kill herself. Was just such a big visual thing about like where she is mentally, I guess, and how she's picking at her fingers so much that she's bleeding. As someone who does that, I found that very relatable.
I will say, taking the string out of her shirt though, and leaving her hair that long.
Yeah, it was an interesting choice.
It's a real leaving the ammo in Urgot's guns moment right there.
Like they're the city of progress. They're not that creative, right? To be fair, she didn't think of it either. I don't know. What would you think of like a V for Vendetta forced shave type situation? Just throw it out there. I don't know. It's a pretty severe thing to happen to a character in a way. I know, like losing your adopted daughter is also, but like as a sort of
no, I know what you mean. It is.
You lose that very cool hair splayed out visual that must have taken her hours to.
I did like that, but you can. It's right. It's like, okay, I gotta get this one there. Here's some noise, and it just like fuck.
A rat just skitters across it.
That's how she traps them. Right?
Maybe.
Yeah, I never would have expected Caitlyn to be even in a position like to even be expected to apologize. Certainly not to Jinx, right? Like,
oh no, yeah.
That's why I was to Vi.
Apologize for like gun butting her. Maybe that's
the thing I was gonna say.
She
is
did
that like
hit Vi.
and
she did like
she hit her right in her fucking wound too. It's rude.
Yeah.
She just got stabbed there like a week ago. The time frame of this show is like it's pretty short. That's still a pretty fresh wound.
Yeah, it's certainly true. So this is the thing. We're a little more time with those characters and a couple more conversations. You could show nice quiet conversations with people. Like I was surprised that when Vi wakes up, she would expect like she gets frustrated or angry that Caitlyn still doesn't trust Jinx, but it's like, why would you expect Caitlyn to trust Jinx, right?
I agree. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which
on the one hand, like Jinx did jump out and try and save her from the Noxian, but also Vi didn't see that. She wasn't even around for that.
Yeah. And like this is also the thing of like, is it intentional that's like something that we're like Vi is supposed to be wrong about to assume that or demand that of Caitlyn, or is this like is this an issue, like a writing issue? You know what I mean? And I have trouble telling in sometimes.
I don't think she's in the right here, and I don't know if she's supposed to be or not, personally. And then Caitlin does, once she's calmed down, Caitlin's able to be like, listen, Jinx wanted to make sure you were okay, and that was really all she cared about, and then she wanted to come with us. Like, and
or didn't care, right?
Yeah, like didn't care. I think she gave herself up just right away, and did not care where she ended up. Yeah, I do like that Caitlin oh my god, one of the lines that cracked me up though was why calling Ambessa a war pig and saying she oinked poison into her ear. Yo, beautiful. Oh, that was great. I loved Jinx's conversation with Silco too, or Silco. And just kind of her coming to her conclusion that she needs to walk away, which I think really sets us up for the end here. Not to totally jump ahead, but we are just talking about Jinx, where I don't think she's dead. She has fled and has left and has decided this is what's best for everybody if I'm gone.
Part of me really wants to believe that she left with Ekko, but I also know Ekko's not leaving
Ekko wouldn't leave Zahn.
No, certainly not.
Yeah. Man, in terms of just such good like the Jinx music that
this
plays,
devastating like suicide music.
Oh my god,
so heart-wrenching. Yeah. I agree.
I do love that we're seeing the the Ekko's 4 seconds turning back time, but still taking the damage from all those Jinx
really
explosions. Just like, please, I only have a certain amount of these left. You gotta, please, can you please jump instead of doing the grenade this time? Please, no, thank God.
Like, he didn't ask her to do that, but I do like that she notices that he's getting hurt, and so she decides to jump instead. Oh. That scene's very sad, but great. It did need more. I would have liked more. I heard that there was a lot more here, a lot more time bomb content where Ekko tells her about this alternate universe, because something that she says is that there's no good version of her, and we now know that that's not true. And I remember getting that line and just being like, that's not true. I just saw this incredible version of you. And for her to think that. And I would have loved it if they'd kept in Ekko, letting her know about this universe and that there is this other version of her.
And I do think
she knows.
I think they were meant,
in a way.
She meant to imply, or I think the idea is that the implication was there when she
saw the monkeys in his machine.
That and her line to Vi later.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I'm don't you get it yet? Like, I'm always going to be with you, even if we're like worlds apart.
I had assumed that meant she was leaving.
Yeah, that's more my read on this.
Like, she knew she was going to go.
Line.
But then there wouldn't be worlds apart. There'd just be cities apart.
Or worlds if she goes to like Demacia to be in that season.
It's because she's going to go play professional league, right? She's going to go to Worlds.
She's going to join the League of Legends.
Yeah, I totally agree about you. I really do want to see more of that sequence, because it's like it happens kind of off screen, and it's to get her from how they've depicted her so strongly in episode 8 as being like completely BSOD'd, right? Like, to now being willing to join back in the fight. Yeah, it's like that's a massive character shift, and this is a really serious thing that's to have happen to a character. I think it's like, I don't just want it. It's like I need it. I think the show needs it a little bit too, right?
Yeah.
And you finished the Jinx Fixes Everything game, right, Mark?
No, I didn't.
I didn't either.
Oh, okay. I mean,
is it still up, by the way?
I've been sick.
Yeah. This isn't necessarily a spoiler because it's in client and all, but I think one of the biggest reveals of that was not in the show is that she built that thing in the tree. Like, Ekko brought her back to the tree.
Oh my god.
That's pretty big.
A massive...
Like, that's a big... He didn't even want Heimerdinger to tell Jace about that shit, and he just brought Jinx into it.
I would have liked to have seen the tree again as well. That was the other something I'm missing, was Ekko reuniting with his people, and them seeing that he's alive, and seeing if the tree is okay, and what's going on with that.
Yeah, and
that
we
was
like
another thing missing for me.
yeah, because like we get the firelights at the end, but we like miss the moment.
They thought
of
he was dead. They
reuniting,
thought their
right?
leader was dead. Like, that's huge.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's vouching for Jinx. It's a lot. There's a lot going on there, right? This again, it's like there's when you really start
Yeah,
to
like
pull
what does
at
that
it.
look like? Him trying to get Jinx into the treehouse, like,
Yeah, they would have been
and
like, what
him
the
trying
fuck
to
are you
explain,
doing?
like, no, guys, you don't understand. I went to a parallel universe. She was cool there. I think maybe I can fix her. Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
Trying to get in. You know, it's they do have the bit like in Act. Cripes, my head is just starting to melt when I'm trying to remember where things happen. But like where she frees all the prisoners. And
Yeah,
the,
that's
the
true.
Bat Firelight guy is there. He's kind of second in command, and he
That's
seems to
true.
sort of give like a. This is the thing where it's like, I just don't know if that's enough for the relationship that they established between Jinx and the Firelights in season 1. That
I mean,
she's
she
killed
killed
many of them.
yeah, a lot of them. Yeah,
When we
Yeah.
first meet her. Yeah.
She
Like-
turned them
like
into
5.
salsa. Yeah,
the first time we meet her.
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
like it's a few sequences and a head nod is maybe just not enough to change
It's
to like
hard.
shift that
I-
dynamic.
Yeah, I can accept maybe that they would let her in this moment, but she's not going to be truly like accepted there or anything or forgiven, and they want her to go after that. Like, hey, you want to help us? That's great, but then
You have some more work to do.
yeah, we don't want you here.
Sure.
All of that said, when Jinx and Ekko show up in that fight,
fucking cool.
so
as
fucking
hell.
cool, man. That was so fucking cool. I was so hyped. That was the most excited I was this whole season, I think.
And like seeing the balloon, like the super Isha themed balloon.
Yes, there's a lot of Easter eggs like on there and on them, and the way that they painted each other and like their graffiti is tied
I love
together.
that they took time for that.
Right.
I know. I was thinking about that as they're like spray painting
Like
each
we gotta
other.
hurry,
and
yeah, but we
everything.
got time for this, right?
Hang on. It's fine.
One thing I forgot to mention this, by the way, in episode 7, but it is Jinx related, so I'll just bring it up now. But did y'all see when Powder first walks into screen? Like we see her for the first time, you can see her reflection in the mirror, and her reflection is Jinx, not Powder.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? I didn't notice
Yeah.
I
that.
know that. That's probably what Ekko saw. You know.
That's neat. That's a neat detail. Explains why he threw that thing at her. Almost stabbed her with a screwdriver.
I like how she just brushed that off too. She like ducked. She's like, "Did you just throw that at me?" Like, yeah, he clearly, very clearly, just tried to deck you in the face.
I guess it's so jarring. You wouldn't even be upset. You'd just be genuinely like confused.
I would be
right?
very upset if John whipped something at my head.
I would be confused if you whipped something at my head like on
Right.
purpose. I'm used to it happening on accident.
Do I throw things at you by accident a lot? All right, bring it up next time.
Okay. Vi. We talked about Vi a little bit. I guess the only notes I really have that really stuck out to me. Unfortunately, it's a negative one. It has to do with Vi Caitlin's sex scene and specifically the placement of it in relation to Vi and Jinx's interaction prior to that. Because when Vi goes to free Jinx, right? Like the Jinx does the old switcheroo and locks Vi in, and Vi's like last moments in interaction with Jinx are filled with like fear, right, and uncertainty, right. Her last lines are, what are you going to do? And she's very obviously distraught. And when Caitlyn comes to come find Vi, like, I guess, are we supposed to read it as Vi just thinks that Jinx left and is not going to help? Right?
That's, yeah, I don't know. I guess Vi was probably. I read it as just she was very unsure. I didn't necessarily think that Vi believed she was suicidal, because I think that she would be acting very differently if she thought that Jinx might kill herself.
It's wild to think that she wouldn't think that, though, because
That's the
I feel like
thing.
the last interaction when Vi was going to punch her in the face with the gauntlet, she was like, "I'm ready. I'm glad."
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Jinx has done anything that's so explicitly like, here I go, I'm gonna go do it, right? But it's just like, if we use a little bit of our emotional intelligence, right? Like we know, like if you're Vi and you know what has happened to Jinx and that she has just lost an adopted sister, and the way her demeanor is and the way she's acting, it just seems to me that Vi's immediate thought from how she's been depicted would be to go get out and go find Jinx, right? I don't know. It feels awkward to me. Like, it feels like an awkward placement of the scene. There's got to be maybe I just feel like there's a way you could get this scene in here. I don't know. I don't know how I'd fix it necessarily, but I just feel like this is not the time and place. I could be wrong.
Again, it's hard to know.
Sex scene.
I absolutely
we just need it somewhere.
Need this sex scene. You're right. Yes, 100%. I do agree it is an odd placement. I do think it's a very important scene, just in general for lesbians.
Yeah. It's good to have it.
Very good to have it for so many reasons.
And I even get having it pre-battle. That's a big thing. Pre-battle, I get that.
I guess
I do think. Yeah, I imagine she has. I would imagine she has some things, and she's the queen of missing red flags.
That's true.
Right? Yeah. Is she
it's kind of dumb. Love her. Love
is she
her
entirely
so much.
solipsistic though? Like, I mean, she's got it. Like, we can put one and one together a little bit. That's the thing, right? It's like, again, if you had a little more time and you could have a quiet, the sort of hush before the battle thing with her and Caitlyn, where there's like a lot of tension, and then that's how they relieve it. That is sort of where it feels like that's where it'd be placed.
If
right?
there was like she had gone in search for Jinx and couldn't find her, because that's believable to me that she went. Because where would she look for Jinx? Really, she probably doesn't know where her hiding place is. Like, she wouldn't really know where to go.
Or quick, Caitlyn just like, we have guards outside all the doors. Don't worry about it. One of them will pick her up.
Sure,
they don't.
Like that.
They don't. Obviously, even if they did have guards at all the doors, they're not stopping Jinx. But
or maybe if Jinx was less ominous, if Jinx was a little more attempting to like reassure Vi that, sorry sis, but I got to take care of myself. Something like that, right? It's like, and then she can be a little more relieved because the way she's kind of talking with. I don't have all the lines that she says to Caitlyn when she's kind of like punching the wall and stuff. But like I said, the way she's talking about it, is almost like she thinks Jinx is just not going to help. Jinx is just going to look out for herself and not help. Yeah, which is like, if that's your perspective on it, and you think Jinx is just doing that, then it's more fine. I'm not as worried about it. I don't know. Anyway. I mean, she doesn't get a ton of going on in this episode, as I recall, because a lot of it's like them setting up what's going to happen in the big battle, and Jace making sort of his impassioned plea, and who's the piano guy, by the way? He shows up in this episode.
I
think just the goal was to show that like even the artists are helping.
Yeah.
I don't think it's supposed to be
super
I'm open with that.
Beyond that, yeah.
I'm open to that. The last thing I want to talk about, man, we have been going on with episode 8 a lot. There's a lot going on here. We're not on 9.
We've talked a lot about
I will
9
say, because
too,
we were
so
talking
okay.
about like just characters in general. I will say one thing that I didn't necessarily like about Vi characterization at the end too, because I think the implication is that the scene we get with Vi and Caitlyn at like the very, very end, like it seems like that's pretty soon after everything went down.
We don't know how soon. I feel like some time has passed. People have healed.
You mean like the very end, like the
very
end
last scene? Yeah.
It's really hard to say. I don't know. I read it as like in the aftermath, but I mean not like immediately. I don't know. Do you think it needed more time before they were at that point, or what?
I don't know. I would have just liked a little more something from Vi, right? Like, I like the because Caitlyn seems very genuinely worried about Vi and how she's handling the obviously very upsetting loss of her sister and father all at the same time. And she seems kind of more upset about it than Vi does in this scene.
I don't agree necessarily. I don't know. I think Vi handles things in her own way. I think she probably mourned very hard, very early. And I sort of felt like weeks had passed at this point. Maybe I'm wrong, but that was kind of the vibe that I was getting. that kind of a while had gone by. But I don't think Vi is... She's certainly not moved on or anything. She's still mourning in her way. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
she's singing her song, you know, Jinx's
her mom's song
that their mom sang to them, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would
she
say
misses her mom a lot in this scene. Jinx can get fucked.
No, that's harder to talk about, right? Like, she lost her mom a lot longer ago, and some people don't want to talk about their grief right away, you know?
That would track with how Vi would kind of handle things. I will say, like, about the ending, really, I would want more from Vi and Jinx in the immediate resolution of everything. Really more of them, more of a conclusive ending. I know we're skipping ahead to 9, but like,
it's okay.
I don't know, like, you know, Vi, I want more of a conclusive ending to them too, and I'm fine with Jinx living and whatnot, but the way that it's such an abrupt and also open ending for her feels inconclusive and unsatisfying ultimately.
Yeah, I wish we knew if we were going to be getting more of some of these characters in future seasons, because that's so up in the air. We know we're getting other shows, and we know that some of the characters are going to be touched on, right, and maybe might appear in other shows. But we have no idea if we're ever going to see Jinx or Vi or Caitlyn or hear about them again. And I think if I knew one way or the other, I'd feel a little bit better. But it being up in the air, it seems more annoying than anything.
Yeah, I agree.
I do like that Caitlyn is trying to find her. I like that Caitlyn is actively looking to see if Jinx could be alive. And I don't think Vi is necessarily aware of this. She probably wouldn't tell her until she knows for sure that something could be happening. But I don't know.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I'll say also that, like, even if we came back to Jinx in 2 to 4 years, depending on how long it took them to make another season, it's like, I don't know if I would care as much as I do right now. Like, it's just not the same. Like, this is the time to really reach a conclusive ending, and it's fine for her to live and to even fake her death for Vi and to try and get away. Like, I do like the bookend of her leaving on the same airship and all that jazz. It's just like, it's just the thing where really it's just too quick. I feel like, you know, we need...
Yeah, it is all too quick.
I'm okay with hers. I didn't have a problem with the way they wrapped Jinx up. I think it's the ideal way for them to have done it, because I don't want confirmation one way or the other. Like, and I like enough hints that we have confirmation without them specifically telling us. And I'm also, like, to your point, Mark, like, I don't know, I don't really care what she's up to now, right? Like, we got a good Jinx storyline. We got a full arc with her. Let her do whatever the fuck she wants off screen. Like, let her live her life. I hope she lives a nice, boring life. I don't need to see it. I'm just glad she has the opportunity to do it. Like, I was kind of happy. I was happy with how that one ended.
I got you, yeah.
Anyway, do you want to pull it back?
Sure.
Into, like, earlier in episode 9, I suppose, because it kind of just starts with, like, their little meeting, and then bang. Why? So my first question is, like, why is Jace not shutting down Hex Gates the moment he gets onto the scene? He, like, waits until, like, okay, I gotta wait till there's a battle happening, and then I'll start turning this thing off.
Yeah, that was weird.
Let's go do that now. I don't know. It's a little thing. Okay, talking about Maddie, right? Because the Maddie reveal, I feel like it's a little like, oh, I didn't see anything to signpost it. But, like, take note of the fact that earlier in the battle, she is helping Caitlyn sight railgun rounds into Mbessa and is getting shot at by Noxie and artillery. She could have killed or captured Caitlyn right then and there. They're just going to summary execute her anyway, we see. So, like, there's no reason for Maddie not to try and kill Caitlyn there. Like,
yeah, she is tampering with things. She has tampered with the bomb that they were trying to get on. Like, remember the nail was in it? That was Maddie.
True, but that is a decoy too, which she must not know about, right? But it's like, if you're Mbessa and that's your traitor, that's your person on the inside, and it's like, if you have the opportunity, just kill Caitlyn, right? If there's no reason, like, or is there a reason to not kill Caitlyn? I don't know.
Maybe she wants it to be a public execution specifically.
Right.
But
it
they don't
seemed
really
very like she wanted the spectacle of that.
But there's no one there. That's the thing. I would. That was my initial thought. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. You make an example of her, but there's not really anyone there in the first place. And if you're just gonna like I said, they just as soon as they disarm her, they're like, all right, kill her. It's like they didn't put her out in front of anybody. They didn't pull out. Like, there's not really a lot of Piltovans there, or at the very
they
least,
have all the enforcers that were part of it, and I think they've got. I mean, they've got the Noxians too, and at this point, Caitlin is the one who's in charge of Piltover, right? So like this is a summary execution of the ruler of another fairly large city-state. Like having your own troops be the only witnesses of it is still a big deal. Like it's still kind of like another notch in the.
I think it needs more pomp and circumstance, is what I would say. I think maybe a few reaction shots of like a cowed Piltovan like soldiers, like them throwing down weapons or something like that, just to emphasize that like this is a spectacle. Because to me, it just reads like she's like, well, we've got them. You know, let's just clean it up a little bit. You know,
yeah, and Vi clearly couldn't see because she would not have been just on her knees with her hands behind her head, which is I think where she was.
Yeah.
Oh, I think she was she still like just having her fucking gauntlets pinned down by that one super juiced.
So. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in terms of pomp and circumstance, you didn't think that the music as she walked up the steps is enough. It was like the beginning of the Timo song when she walked up the steps.
I wish it had been, man. Oh, come on.
Throw the Timo
let's
theme in
see.
there.
What else I got here?
I think one of my big complaints about 9 in particular is that with Victor's robot folks there, the entire Noxian force seemed completely superfluous.
Yeah.
Like Victor did not need their help in doing this. Like, he probably needed 4 or 5 of those metal robots to do everything the Noxians did, and he had dozens of he could have done this by himself very easily.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, I mean, obviously he maybe needed Ambessa's help to get Singed's help to turn him into what he was, so
maybe.
That's fine there. I don't know what Ambessa necessarily thought she was gonna get out of this, because you got a dude who can create fucking super soldiers that he can control with his mind. I don't know whether she thought that oh, okay, well, we made him powerful. Surely he's going to fall in line and, fight for me. Like, as someone who prides herself in being, the fox and the wolf, that seems like a weird assumption for her to make about Victor.
Yeah. Yeah, in general, Ambessa, I will say, gets a little muddy in her motivations. Like, the fact that she's fighting Mel at the end, because it's they do a lot in this act, or not act, sorry, this season, to really try and establish that, family is genuinely number one for her. But they also have a couple of these lines about, her ambition and her desire for a legacy, and LeBlanc is kind of talking about how Ambessa only ever cared about Mel as a weapon, and it's are they trying to... Is Ambessa supposed to be a hypocrite where she says that family is super important but really cares about power? Is she supposed to be sort of a more... Is she supposed to be a human depiction of that, where someone genuinely thinks that something is important to them, but what they actually do kind of reflects something else? I don't know. It's a little, like I said, a little muddy in terms of what Ambessa's actual goal is, aside from just I guess being a villain and getting power.
Right. And I'm both hoping and not hoping that the novel will answer some of these questions. One, because I'd like the questions to be answered, right?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it'd be kind of shitty to hide all those answers for a TV show that is very popular and has a lot of broad appeal to people who are not League fans, to assume that all right, this is gonna seem muddy. Unless you want to read this novel, it's got a lot of really great lore about this world that you probably don't give a shit about.
It's all a prequel, so don't worry. It's all going to end up in the same spot anyway. Yeah. I agree. What else got on the list? Loris died. That's the guy's name.
Oh my god, that's yeah, that was a real bummer for me. I don't think what was my note here? I had some thoughts here. Let's see. Oh yeah, they gave him a Marcus ending, right? But he didn't deserve the Marcus ending. Marcus deserved the Marcus ending for being a piece of shit.
War, honey. It's senseless. Sometimes people just die very
Their
quickly
stories
for
end
no
inglorious.
reason.
Then like
Yeah.
give him something cool to do. I mean, he was cool. Like
I think it's just wasted space. I think frankly they're all kind of wasted space. Maybe just get rid of, ditch them all and just keep Maddie and give Maddie a bit more of a proper character and signpost her betrayal a bit more.
I like that.
I don't know. But like the fish guy shows up. It's like, I don't give a fuck. I don't know who these guys are. He's as much character as that piano guy. It's like, I don't care.
right. Also, I mean, in regards to Maddie too, like I would love if there was just like a slight scene too, I think, to make it more explicit that because my assumption is that Maddie is a war mason, right?
Oh, I
Sure,
didn't think
yeah.
so.
Like
Or
stationed here on purpose, like as
Oh.
opposed to like a lover scorned, you know?
I
Like,
didn't think she was a lover scorned either, but I didn't necessarily think she was a war mason.
oh,
And
that was kind
like,
of my
permanently
read,
Noxian.
I guess.
I saw in her eyes when she was the first one to do the Noxian salute. I felt like something changed in her in that moment, and that was kind of the vibe I got. But I don't know.
Well, I think this is the thing: is that we're trying to clutch to understand what's going on with
Her
her
motivations
her
were,
motivations.
and we don't, just
yeah.
don't know because they
Right.
weren't clear enough.
Yeah, like I would love some sort of just explicit call out, you know.
Or if like some of the
About why,
ways, because she has a time like she's interacting with Caitlyn at the start of Act 2, and I have to like remember where things happened, and she doesn't really seem to be like embedding her deeper into Ambessa or kind of creating sort of like a paltry sort of token opposition that would cause Caitlyn to reject it and then go towards Ambessa. She seems, as I remember reading it, to genuinely sort of offering up the suggestion is like, you could stop. We don't, you can always tap the brakes a little. So I don't know, a little more conversation. Like that's the thing. If it was just her, you had a little more time. You could have some conversations that if you went back and looked at them with the new the new knowledge, you'd be like, oh, okay, she's kind of trying to manipulate things in this way. Maybe she's trying to keep Vi. Like the idea that she would want Vi pulled back into like the goon squad that Caitlyn runs seems like opposite of what Ambessa would want, because Vi complicates things. Maybe Maddie would try and keep Vi out of the mix. I don't know. I don't know. Just some thoughts, suggestions.
Yeah, love more of that. Maybe they really wanted to have like a scene, in the episode that was kind of like a flashback contextualizing like, a bunch of these scenes, but like, shit, we already did that in episode 3.
Yeah,
We can't do it again.
that's true. Okay. What do you think of the Victor redesign? I don't want to talk about it as it pertains to the game. I feel like that's a massive thorny issue that people who play Victor are upset about. But just in the show, what do you think of the new Victor design?
I thought it was pretty fucking dope.
I thought
honestly.
it was pretty fucking cool. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited to see it in game. I want to play him really badly. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
really
likewise.
unique. I like, there was a little part of me that was disappointed to let go of like Machine Victor, right? But I also deep down knew that was less and less likely as things went on. So I thought this was really clever. The way that they designed him was so cool and wonderful and creepy.
The split face thing, just strange in a
Weird
very
mask.
interesting way, and
And like knowing that his face is behind there somewhere too.
Yeah, like when Ekko like blasts it away and you see part of his face is there. Oh,
Yeah. It gave me kind of like what's her name? The Void Lady vibes.
Belveth?
Yeah, it gave me kind of Belvet vibes.
oh
in a way.
yeah, certainly. Funny enough, like
Especially when he flapped his stingrays around. That was like super Belveth of
Yeah.
yeah. Funny, more void imagery that we're kind of drawing comparisons to.
yeah. Weird.
Yeah, I thought it was funny because they got that bit where like Vi and Jinx and Warwick are all flying around, and then at one point Victor and Jace like fly past
Oh, that was so funny, dude.
them. Like, wait, was
A lot
that
of
Jace?
memes coming out of that, I gotta say. I thought
Who
that
was
was the
that
last
dude?
time Vi sees him.
Yeah. Okay, so that's something broadly I'll say also when I thought about this act and some of the season in retrospect is like characters who like have no lines or like are so like how long it's been since they've interacted. Like when Ekko throws that Z drive at Victor, those characters have never met before. Victor had no idea who the fuck that was.
He just knew that was the big bad, clearly.
Some guy came and threw a grenade in my face. I don't know who that guy was. Or what was
that kid?
Right? And like, I know everything, and that's not a thing that exists.
Right? That's gotta be really frustrating.
Ekko's appearance though was great. This was a really cool moment for me. There were some standout moments, I feel like, and this was one of them. Anything really to do with Ekko this season, or the whole show, was just phenomenal. And I did like Ekko's appearance here. He really saved the day.
Refused to lose, right?
Refused to lose, man. Oh, he has my whole heart.
Truly the boy savior.
Yeah, he is truly the boy savior. His theme is going to be the song on this one, I think. I wasn't sure what song to do, but I feel like it has to be Ekko.
He deserves it.
Yeah.
But
I also like Jace realizing when he was in the position that he was going to die in. Like when he kind of has this moment where he's on this hammer and he looks up and he's like, oh,
God
damn it, this is where I was.
They told me one thing. They said one thing: when you go there, do not end up on the top of the hex gates.
Right.
In a kneeling position. Here I am. Yeah, but yeah, I guess if we want to talk about Jace, I want to talk about his speech with Victor, because he has a line. At least he has like a couple of them that I took umbrage with. The one where he's talking to Victor about like, you know, you saw your leg and your disease as these things to be fixed, these like things that are wrong with you, but they're not weaknesses. I was like, but they literally are, Chase, and there's
they
nothing
very much were
wrong.
killing him.
There is nothing wrong with
about
Victor
to die.
wanting to walk and not suffer from a disease that like is a degenerative disease that's the result of like just where he happened to be born, right? Like
this isn't a situation where like Victor has a big nose and you're like, no, you're beautiful. Like, no, like he was for sure dying.
Yeah, and I never got the read from Victor that he saw those things as. I never got the read from Victor in season 1 that he saw those things as problems, like rather. What am I trying to say? Problems other than things that were just like to be solved. This is something that I want fixed. This is something that's plagued me, and I want to solve it. Rather than like I never interpreted Victor as seeing his inability, like his inability to walk or his disease as like having like something like morally wrong with him. Like I never saw him as seeing himself as broken. Does that make sense? That I recall from the way he's depicted in season 1. Like, does that make? I can't think of anything that reads that way to me. I don't know. It's just like so the fact that this is like the speech that gets Jace to get Victor kind of back to humanity. It's like, well, first off, it's a little silly that you're telling me that these things weren't problems, because they were, and there's nothing wrong with me wanting to fix them. And then B, it's like, again, never read Victor as seeing these things as something that's like fundamentally wrong with him as a person. You know, Victor never acted that way. Victor never was like obsessed with perfection or fixing things in that way. I mean, I would paint Victor as kind of the opposite. I always saw him, especially in our rewatch, as like a risk taker. He was someone who was willing to sort of bend and break the rules and make mistakes. I don't know.
Yeah, several instances.
So,
you know, just like doing things that he knows are unsafe. I mean, there were several points where Jace was like, are you sure about this? Like, and he's like, no. And Heimerdinger's like, oh, you should make sure that this is safe. And Victor's like, nah, I think we should push it out now.
Yeah. He kind of pushes for the opposite. So, Yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
a bit
I almost killed your Poro with my laser. What of it? Speaking of Poros, where the fuck's Heimerdinger's Poro season
where's
2?
this Poro?
Well, there is the one sequence in, I think, the last episode when it seems like people are kind of leaving, or at least leaving the Undercity, and I want to say the Jinxer. Someone's looking outside of one of the tram cars, and there's a woman going to get on, and she's got a Poro with her. I don't know if it's the same one.
I did see a Poro for sure. I didn't think it was. It looks like
it's probably
it looked a different color. I could be imagining that, but
it's probably a different one.
Color Poro?
Like a slightly darker blue shade.
Yeah, just like a slightly darker shade.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Did it have a bandage on its horn?
I don't remember
that's how
looking.
we know it's Heimerdinger's Poro.
I should have looked.
Victor's handiwork.
Did it have a mustache?
But yeah, I like what's going on at the core of Jace Victor, like you had kind of said, Rebecca, that Jace just genuinely, because that's something that has happened. We've seen in other parts of the season where I liked way back in Act 1 where when Victor comes out of the cocoon or whatever, the thing, that Jace isn't freaked out or anything. He's just happy that Victor's alive. Victor asks what he is, and Jace says, "You're alive," and that's the important part, right? His bro is back.
Did you guys notice? Yeah, did you guys notice that his spine was snapped in half?
When?
So like initially after the explosion, when we see Victor laying there, I think when there's like weird like shots when Jace puts him in the hex goo or whatever it is, or it takes him, where you see his skeleton and literally his spine was snapped.
Really? Oh, that's pretty neat.
And he was like fully dead when he was put in there. He was not alive anymore.
I saw that
on TikTok.
There's a lot of little...
That's crazy.
Little frames. Little frames. Did you see the one of Maddie, I think right before she shoots Caitlyn, where it's like
the big smile.
Yeah, so it's like those are really interesting visuals, and I just kind of like that one in particular is a really interesting one, and I wish there was a little more to it maybe. But I like the core of what's going on with Jace Victor. I did like the question of, are we really bros if we don't touch foreheads and get sucked into a cosmic nothingness together? Right?
What do you think happened to them? You think
man.
that they're alive?
No, I think they're dead.
Oh, interesting.
Or like they just cease to exist in some way. That was my read on it. It's hard to say.
But then Victor still has to get old and... Right? I don't know.
That's
to give Jace the...
I don't even want to touch that time loop shenanigans. That's
we'll do that in the next episode, because we are coming up on 2 hours here. And we are going to have one more Arcane episode where we talk about the whole show.
Yeah, I don't want to touch it too much. To me, it's like a big thing that I don't feel like it adds a lot of... I almost feel like it doesn't add a lot of value. I'll have to rewatch it with like that in mind. But
with that in mind, yeah, see Act 1.
For the record, do you remember when I said that I had rewatched that scene in particular to see if it was Jace or Victor, and I was confident that it was neither of them?
Yeah, because it's like hand or something.
Because his hand is tattooed to shit.
Yeah.
Unlike the Victor that we see.
Yeah,
who said that he's the one who gave.
I went and looked at that too, and I'm fairly certain this is just a big fucking retcon in season 2, and I don't trust.
So it seems like so not something that they would do. So I'm very confused on that level, right? Like, I don't know. I felt like they planned this show, but certain things don't feel planned. You're right. Like that doesn't feel planned, and like we said with Silco being besties with the mom. The mom also didn't feel as planned.
I wonder if they had a plan on like what Victor's visual design was going to be in season 2, in season 1, and then they had a big change on that, and you're like,
maybe. They go back and change it in season 1. Honestly, you could change it like that.
Just go change the thing we already watched, or I was like, or you just put the tattoos on the Victor hands or something like that. It's fine.
Something.
It's a weird. I was gonna say, here he looks weirdly different than the Victor we know anyway. It's like, you just put the tattoos on his fingers. There you go, no problem. But I think that's the thing. Is it really?
They might go back and change it, because we already know they fucked up the the music.
Oh, the song, the Paint the Town Blue song. Apparently, they used the wrong version.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Because
What's like what,
Ashnika, someone had typed like Ashnika, like, oh, this is really great. He's like, yeah. Although it's weird that they used the temp version. It's got completely different lyrics than we recorded, and like Christian Link responded and was like, well, we suck.
I thought, if anything, it would be intentional that they maybe used the wrong, like they liked that version of the song better, but no, apparently it was just an error.
okay, like that's like a what? That's like, that makes me like really upset.
Like, how rushed was this? Really,
what?
I wanted this season so badly, but I would have waited a lot longer for it.
It does,
I
like,
don't
just
know.
I had not heard that at all. That really does raise massive questions about like what the hell happened, right? This is a discussion for the next episode in
That's
some
true,
ways.
yeah.
I don't want to get into it.
Arcane, what the hell happened?
And I will say, I'll put it out there now, like, I didn't dislike season 2.
No,
at
as
all.
a whole, I
and
really
as a
enjoyed
whole, I
this.
loved it, and like tons of moments that made me real emotional and everything. I think like
I have cried over this.
I didn't think that there was any full way. I mean, it was not as bad as Lost, but like I knew going into it that like there would be no way to in a satisfying way wrap up all the various storylines
Not
that
in
they
just
had
one
like
season.
opened. Like I knew that there was no way that was going to happen, and I went in with that expectation. Even with that expectation, there were some disappointing things and some non-disappointing things. Overall, though, I did love it. But yeah, I think what the hell, what the hell happened conversation is probably still warranted.
Yeah, well, that's like I said, that
Next
certainly
time.
makes, next time we can talk about it as a whole, because it's there's a lot of the discussions we had about the last act, at least from my perspective, was like there's all this potential floating around.
He said the P word.
There's no more
There's
potential
so much
now.
Potential.
It is what it is, right? Maybe they'll go fix the
Yeah.
music or whatever, but this is the season that we have. So going back and talking about those previous acts, now that we have it all laid out, well, I think when I come back to it, I'll probably be a little more harsh, because there were things I was like, well, this isn't really working for me now, but maybe down the line it will get paid off or things will change about it. So who knows?
All right.
Yeah, art direction
Yeah.
was really stellar, and I mean even 9 has some amazing, just set like visuals and just animation is always stellar, and music really landed, and it's just some of the writing is where things started to get really kind of sticky.
Right.
So
Fortiche and the music department can do no wrong.
Phenomenal.
You guys fucking nailed it.
Yeah.
but yeah, I think I'm kind of exhausted, I'll be honest with you.
Me too. It's been
Yeah.
2 hours. It's late. Mark and I had the flu last week, so we are going to wrap it up. But as we said, next week we are going to be talking about just Arcane as a whole, just to kind of talk about this a little bit more. I mean, if you have like questions or thoughts in the about what we're saying, I'd love to hear about it in the Discord. You can either do it in the podcast channel, probably, or the Arcane Spoilers channel. Actually, would be better if it's
Sure.
pertaining to the plot. We have a channel just for that, so we don't want to spoil people who haven't been able to see it yet. But thank you so much for listening, if you've made it this far, especially.
Right. And also, we'll just talk. Never mind. We'll talk about it in the wrap up.
This is the wrap up.
No, I mean, I guess the next episode. I just didn't want people to call out that we didn't mention Swain. We'll talk about it.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
excited
yeah. It's
for
just-
future shows and predictions and whatnot will definitely be in the next episode. I'm pumped. There's a lot more we have to talk about. But in the meantime, we have a twitch.tv/Loreheads. John streams there on Saturday evenings. He does TFT and A-Rooms with viewers. And we also have the Discord that we talked about. There's a link to it in the episode description if you want to join that Discord. YouTube. We have a YouTube. If you want to hear John sing Get Jinxed as Heimerdinger, please check out our YouTube. We also have like reaction videos that have a lot of views and people who don't know who we are and they don't seem to like us very much. So if you want to jump on in there and comment how amazing we are.
Thank you to everyone who already did that.
Yeah, thank you so much to the people who did that. Yeah.
Did they? Oh, you also
Yeah.
Did y'all light
Some
the beacons?
heroes.
Did you call for aid? Oh man.
Right?
That's really what it feels
The
like.
torches are lit.
Oh,
Sorry.
man.
And we have a Patreon. Thank you so much to all of our patrons.
But a very special thank you to our Medarda tier patrons, King of Hearts and Mr. Dead. To me, you are the Fortiche and Riot music department
Oh,
of
damn.
Arcane.
Wow.
That's a
That's
pretty
beautiful.
high fucking praise. Oh,
I know. He's never said anything that flattering to me. I'm just kidding.
or me, his very own podcast partner. What the hell?
Well, please be sure to join us next week as we continue our ongoing discussion / slight rant about Arcane.